This video is sponsored by Supply Handlers. 2 days. That's all it took for Tottenham Hotspur to smash their own transfer record twice. First it was Mateus Fernandes for £85 million. Then, less than 48 hours later, Sandro Tonali arrived for a fee that could rise to £100 million, officially making him the most expensive Italian footballer in the history of the sport. If you're a Spurs fan who spent the last 2 seasons watching your club stumble to back-to-back 17th placed finishes, this is the moment you've been waiting for. But why Tonali? Why now? And why does this specific midfielder fit this specific Tottenham side so perfectly? Let's get into it. Let's start with the numbers because they're almost hard to believe. Tottenham are paying Newcastle £92.5 million up front, with a further £7.5 million in add-ons tied to Champions League qualification, taking the total to £100 million. According to reports, Tonali actually agreed personal terms with Spurs all the way back on June 15th, with the club-to-club negotiation taking roughly 2 weeks to complete before Newcastle finally accepted the proposal. And here's the part that should really excite Spurs fans. Romano has been adamant that talk of a genuine three-way scrap with Manchester City and Arsenal was never quite the full picture. In his words, Tonali wanted Tottenham from the very beginning, with De Zerbi's project proving decisive. That last detail matters more than it might seem. This isn't a player who needed convincing or who's arriving as a fourth-choice option after being rejected elsewhere. Tonali picked Roberto De Zerbi. And once you understand the relationship between those two, that starts to make a lot of sense. Both men are from Lombardy in northern Italy. De Zerbi was born in Brescia. Tonali was actually born in Lodi, around 70 kilometers away, but it was Brescia's academy that raised him, and it was in Brescia's colours that he made his senior debut before earning his move to AC Milan. That's not just a nice bit of trivia for a Sky Sports graphic. Insiders have described the personal connection between the two as genuinely influential in getting this deal over the line, with De Zerbi understood to have sold Tonali on a vision where he isn't just another squad piece, but the player the entire midfield is built around. So what does Tottenham actually get on the pitch? This is where it gets interesting because Tonali doesn't fit neatly into one box. He's not a pure defensive screener sitting in front of the back four, and he's not a box-to-box runner either. He's somewhere in the middle, a midfielder who can drop deep to collect the ball from his goalkeeper and centre-backs under pressure, dictate the tempo of a match, and still get through an obscene amount of ground defensively. Newcastle staff reportedly nicknamed him their ultimate insurance policy against counter-attacks, which tells you everything about how highly they rated his recovery running, even in the dying minutes of matches. And the numbers back that reputation up. Strip out the 10-month betting ban that cost him nearly all of his first season on Tyneside, and Tonali's appearance record since returning in August 2024 is remarkable. Over 100 games, 10 goals, 10 assists, and only one Newcastle player logged more minutes than him last season. He helped Newcastle end a 70-year wait for a domestic trophy by lifting the Carabao Cup last year, and he was central to their run to Champions League qualification. This is a player with a winning habit, not just a big price tag.
Well, you've asked for it and we've finally delivered. Relive the glory days with the most iconic designs in football history. Whether you're a fan of classic club colours or legendary international strips, we've got something to ignite your nostalgia. Perfect for match days, casual wear or adding to your collection. Shop the new retro range now at goal90.shop. Massive discounts await.
Now pair him with Mateus Fernandes and you start to see exactly what De Zerbi is trying to build. These two do not do the same job, and that's the whole point. Tonali is the organizer, the one who slows the game down when Spurs need composure and speeds it up when the opportunity is there. His biggest strength is what he does without the ball in a matter of seconds, reading danger early, cutting off passing lanes, and putting his body in the right spot before an attack even develops, which is exactly why his concentration levels are rated among the best of any midfielder in the league. But he's not the finished article. Multiple reports flag aerial duels as a genuine weakness for him, and despite the reputation for tenacity, his tackling numbers actually dipped last season, with a tendency to shy away from full-blooded challenges rather than dive into them. He also went the entire 2025-26 campaign without a single goal in over 2,500 Premier League minutes, and his passing accuracy noticeably drops the further up the pitch he goes. His crossing and set-piece delivery in particular have never matched the quality of his distribution from deep. Those are the exact fine margins De Zerbi will be working on training pitches to sharpen. Fernandes has the opposite instinct: quick, direct and comfortable driving through pressure with the ball at his feet. One controls, the other progresses. Together, that's the midfield partnership Tottenham have been missing since the Pochettino years, and it's not an accident. Look at every De Zerbi signing this summer: Jan-Paul van Hecke, Andy Robertson, Marcos Senesi, now Fernandes and Tonali, and the common thread is comfort on the ball. This isn't a squad being assembled piece by piece, it's a system being built player by player. There's also a financial story here worth understanding, because £100 million doesn't come from nowhere. Tottenham's spending this summer is set to blow past £200 million, and once you add Fernandes, Tonali and Van Hecke together, the club is edging toward £250 million in outlay. The ENIC ownership group has pumped in roughly £235 million since early 2025. And crucially, Spurs are stepping away from Europe entirely next season, which frees them from UEFA's stricter 70% squad cost ratio. That's allowed the club to spend aggressively now, even while they still have to be mindful of UEFA's loss-based football earnings rules down the line if they want to get back into the Champions League. Paul Merson summed up the football logic simply, telling Sky Sports that Tottenham have always had good centre-backs and good forwards, but have never dominated midfield, and that De Zerbi has now gone out and fixed that specific problem with two genuinely top-level additions. Of course, no transfer is without risk. Tonali's underlying numbers actually dipped slightly in 2025 to 26 compared to the season before, and there's a fair question about whether Tottenham's real issue last year was creating chances rather than controlling the ball. This is a team that scored just 47 league goals, only the 12th most in the entire division. Xavi Simons, their most creative attacking midfielder, is also facing a lengthy spell out after tearing his ACL in April. Control in midfield only matters if someone up front can finish the moves it creates, which is exactly why nobody expects Tottenham's business to stop with Tonali and Fernandes. Don't be surprised if a forward arrives before deadline day. Still, for a club that has spent 2 straight seasons fighting off relegation rather than fighting for Europe, landing arguably the best available central midfielder outside the traditional Big Six at a fee that makes him the most expensive Italian player ever, sends an unmistakable message. This wasn't a panic buy or a fallback option. It was De Zerbi identifying exactly the player he wanted, going after him personally and getting him. Whether that translates into a top 4 finish remains to be seen, but the intent behind it is impossible to miss. Tottenham didn't just buy a midfielder this week, they bought the foundation De Zerbi is building his entire project on, and if it works, this could be the signing Spurs fans look back on as the moment everything changed. What do you think of the signing? Let us know in the comments. Remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel. Also, be sure to turn on post notifications so that you never miss out on any new videos. See you next time. Bye.